A lot of people don't know this, but 4-H has a program with guide dogs for the blind, where you want to take a dog that's about a year old and then start training it. It's very difficult to get a lot of stuff done, and I've said this before, during a board and train when it's real young. I can, get a dog. If I get a dog at 4 months, I can train all basic obedience commands into it in about 35-40 days, and probably teach it hold and drop, but it's much easier if the dog's about 8 months to a year. It is. So when I get a dog at 9 weeks, which I'll do that, I'll do that just because it's a puppy and I love puppies, that Charlie the English Cocker Spaniel. I'll take the dogs when they're like 9 weeks old, and then I sort of just do bullshit training with them until I get closer to about 4 months, and then I'll start doing some pressure training. But anyway, so 4-H has this program where they take black lab puppies that are going to be guide dogs or might end up being guide dogs, and they give them to these kids in the 4-H program, and they hold on to them until they're about a year old, I think. And then they go back into the system, and then they're trained further. Now, the 4-H kids think that they're training the dog. That's what they call it, and I guess in a way they are. Basically, what they should be doing is making sure that they're not conditioning in stupid stuff. Don't let the dog on the bed. Don't let the dog start jumping on people, that kind of stuff. Maybe train the dog to sit. Just basic stuff, but more or less, don't do stupid shit with the dog, okay? So they had this idea, and I'm not saying, listen, I'm not going off on you guys. You're doing a good thing, and I understand it's very hard to take a dog in and not bond to it. It's a lab puppy, Who's not going to fall in love with the dog, and then you got to give the dog up? That would suck. I got a friend who does it in Long Island, and, Pat's always got some lab at her house. That's going to be some type of service dog. I think it's their guide dogs is what she does. But, she has a dog until it's a little bit over a year old, and then it goes into the system and is trained professionally. Do you understand? But I have these kids that come to this one video that I did talking about this, like guide dogs. Like, not all labs can be guide dogs. It's the truth. And I want to explain something to you all. When there's a litter of puppies, before you kids even get one of those puppies, those puppies are looked at, and if any puppy seems like it would not make a good guide dog, they're pulled out of the litter. Okay? They're pulled out of the litter at that point. And then those puppies go home with you kids, and then at the point when they go back into the system, those dogs are looked at once again, okay? And any dog that would not, for whatever reason, it seems like it's too excitable or something like that, those are yanked out of the system, and they're left with just a few that they're going to train to be guide dogs. That's how it is. Don't sit here and tell a 54-year-old dog trainer that trains service dogs, anything. Don't tell me fucking anything, okay? And I want to be perfectly clear. You are not training a guide dog. You're not. You're not. Those guide dogs are the dogs that you have that are going to be guide dogs are worked with professional trainers. You're not a professional trainer. The only thing that everybody hopes is that you don't do stupid stuff with the dog. And to be perfectly honest, if there was more money available, it would be better if they were in situations where there were adults dealing with the dogs. I'm sorry, kids, that's the way it is. I don't find most children, being mature enough to deal with dogs. Some are. I've known a 16-year-old that became a professional trainer at 16. But there's a percentage of those dogs that go into that 4-H program that are not dealt with properly. Now, people get they're not put down or anything like that. People can fill out applications for dogs that don't meet the cut. That's a decent deal. You get a dog with impeccable breeding that just might be a little bit too excitable. you know? It'd be great. Now, me personally, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to I'm going to go to, Aquarius Labs and that's where my Ike comes from. I'm going to get a dog that has excellent breeding, and I'm going to buy it. I'm not going to fill out an application. I'll pay my $2,000 and get my 8-week-old puppy, and, that's how I do it. But these are the facts, kids. You're not training that dog to be a guide dog, okay? You're not. You're holding on to the dogs. You're being responsible, right? That's what this is about. It's about you all being responsible and not teaching the dogs to... My pigeon's down here fucking up. Hang on. Anyway. And you're supposed to, like, not do certain things with the dogs. I don't know what the 4-H program is. Maybe they ask you to train the dog to sit or something like that, some basic commands. But you're not training a guide dog. You're training a dog that might end up being a guide dog. The percentage of dogs that can be guide dogs, it's like 1% of the dog population. Do you understand? You can train dogs to be physical assist dogs, okay? That is a higher population, because some physical assist dogs could have be more active, you know. But the bottom line is, to be a guide dog, you need a very special dog. So for me to say that it's like less than one, that's what it is. It depends what you want the dog to do, first of all. That's a fact. It depends what you want the dog, you're going to train the dog to do. A dog that doesn't make the cut to be a guide dog might be a great hunting dog. Or might be a great physical assist dog for somebody. You know, so a dog that has a little bit more drive to it. Maybe you need a dog like that that'll open up the refrigerator for someone. In that case, that's a good dog for something like that. Or it might just make a good pet. I'm not bullshitting you when I say this. When the puppies are born, professionals are looking at the dogs, making sure, you know, if there's anything that looks as strange, you know, some kind of aberrant behavior on the lab, you know. Oh, that one's a little bit too shy. It's possible. Or that one's a little bit too active. You kids are never going to see it. You're never going to see that dog. That dog will be adopted out to somebody. It'll probably make a great pet, but it won't make a good guide dog. Not all labs can be guide dogs. And, you know, I have these kids posting shit, and I can tell it's bullshit. Like one kid's calling it a seeing eye dog, you know? Oh yeah, I've trained a bunch of seeing eye dogs. It's not what it is. It's a guide dog, first of all. It's a guide dog. That's what you 4-H kids... I think some of these kids aren't even in 4-H. I think that a lot of children on the internet are trolls. This is a fact. Now, I'm not attacking all you kids in 4-H. I'm not. I realize that that's a tough thing that you're doing, is hanging out with the dog, maybe training it to do some basic commands and everything, and making sure that the dog doesn't start doing stupid shit, like jumping on people. You're gonna fall in love with it because it's a fucking lab. It's a lab. You can't, you know, you're getting a puppy and then you gotta give it up. That's a tough fucking thing to do. There's a valuable lesson as a kid. There is. Having to, you know, if you love something, let it go or something. You know, but you're probably not going to get this one back. But you shouldn't be thinking that I'm not bullshitting you. And I'm not bullshitting anybody. Less than 1% of all labs. Oh, and another thing that I'm hearing on my channel is that a yellow lab is different than a black lab. A chocolate lab is different than a yellow. They're sitting here saying that because the dog is a yellow, a black, or a chocolate, that they're different. Like the yellows are more hyper than the blacks. The blacks are more hyper than something like that. You don't know what you're talking about. They're all the fucking same. That's the beauty of labs. You can breed a yellow and a black and have black and yellow puppies, but you're not going to have a yellow and black spotted puppy. They're the same, you dummies. I'm not bullshitting you, man. I've been around labs my whole fucking life. Now, hunting dogs, right? Hunting dogs mostly. But I've been around some guide dogs too, and I'm just telling you that just because you have seen a chocolate lab that's hyperactive, that doesn't mean all chocolate labs are hyperactive. They're not. They're not. You breed a chocolate that's calm with another chocolate that's calm, you're probably going to get a chocolate puppies that are calm. That's selective breeding. That is domestication. That is selective breeding. And that's another term that you should understand, is domestication. Domestication isn't another word for tame. Domestication is about selective breeding of animals. That's it. If you take an animal from the wild, two animals from the wild, and you breed them in captivity, you make a choice that this dog we're going to breed, this wild dog, this wolf will breed with this wolf because they're two calm wolves, right? These are wild dogs right here. But the puppies are domesticated. They might not be tame because they're not trained yet. But you understand? That's domestication. Don't talk shit don't talk shit on Peter Caine's channel about anything that deals with dogs and dog behavior. You gotta be fucking kidding me. You're joking. If you want to know about dog training, by the way, then look at my videos. I train service dogs. I'm not going off on you. I swear to God. I think that it's great what you're doing. I do. And I realize it's a very difficult thing to do. But your kids, and you know, don't blow this out of proportion that you're training guide dogs, okay? You're training dogs that might end up being guide dogs. And the amount of training that you're doing, whatever you're doing, it's just basic stuff. More power to you. I'm sure that the person that needs the guide dog appreciates it. I do think that if there was more money involved, if the dogs were with the trainer the whole time, you'd probably end up, I don't know, losing less at that cut. At the cut, when the dogs are leaving you and going to the trainer, if they would have been with the trainer that whole time, more dogs would make the cut. That's just a fact. And take it from me, I was a kid. I was a douchebag, okay? I was around dogs my whole life, but I'm telling you, me as a 54-year-old trainer, I'm less of a douchebag than I was when I was 16, that's for sure. I'm not going off on you, I'm just saying, y'all don't know what you're talking about all the time, and if you're going to post something underneath one of my videos, you better realize who you're talking to. I thank you for your service, I do. I thank you for taking care of the dogs, and I'm sure that most of you do what you're supposed to do. I do, I think that. Most of the kids that are from the country are not bullshitters. You're not. You're not. You've been working in the field, your dad has a problem with a fucking cow or something, you have, some cow's giving birth or something, get up and help me. And it's freezing out and you go out and help your dad. You're responsible. I get that. I get that. If you had to pick a group of kids to be taking care of dogs that are going to be guide dogs, I can't think of another group of kids other than 4-H that would be more appropriate. It's the truth. Maybe future farmers of America. It wouldn't be appropriate, and this is the truth, it wouldn't be appropriate to be giving them to city kids. City kids are fucking lost. They are, they're fucking lost. They don't get it. They don't get animal husbandry. So I'm not going off on you, I'm just saying that if you want to say something underneath my video and you want to talk about labs to an adult that has been around labs his whole life. I've owned labs, I've been around as a kid, my family, that's all we fucking had. My cousins, that's, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Really, I appreciate what you're doing, and I'm sure that that person that needs a guide dog appreciates it too. I'm not going off on you. I'm just saying things are really not how you think they are. Not all labs can be guide dogs. It's just a fact. About less than 1% of all dogs can be a guide dog. And there's other breeds that make good guide dogs, but why are labs used? Because they're fucking awesome. It's the truth. They're fucking awesome. Listen, I'm going to be straight up with you here, and then I'm going to turn this off, but I couldn't fucking do it. I could not fucking do that. I could not raise that puppy for that year and then give it back. It would be I'd be a mess. I would be a fucking mess. It's the truth. I don't know how you do it. Congratulations, seriously. You deserve a pat on the back. Most of you don't write shit underneath my videos. I'm not even sure some of these kids are even in the 4-H. I think that it's like, you know, their idea, like, you know, like it's an idea of theirs, they heard about it, and even though that they're not in the 4-H, they're just talking shit.